You know, for the first time in 30 years, the United States is building a whole new generation of nuclear weapons. And I mean a complete overhaul, replacing pretty much every single part of the arsenal that was built up during the Cold War. So yeah, let's get into it.
So what's the price tag for a project this massive? Well, it's projected to be around $2 trillion over the next 30 years. That's a number with so many zeros, it's honestly kind of hard to even wrap your head around.
To try and put that into perspective, think about the original Manhattan Project. You know, the one that built the very first atomic bombs? That whole thing cost about $30 billion in today's money. This new plan, it's like bankrolling a brand new Manhattan Project every 5 months for 30 years straight.
Which, of course, brings us to the biggest question of all. Why? Why now? After all these decades of trying to move away from nuclear weapons, what's changed?
To really get the answer, we have to rewind the clock a bit, back to the end of the Cold War. Because for a while there, it really did seem like nuclear weapons might just become a thing of the past. I mean, look at the timeline. Arsenals were plummeting from their peak. In 2009, President Obama actually called for a world free of nuclear weapons. A year later, the US and Russia even signed the New START treaty to limit their warheads. But, and this is the big but, getting that treaty passed involved a political deal. Billions of dollars were set aside to modernize the existing arsenal. And once that door was cracked open, it just never closed. Soon, billions turned into trillions.
So what exactly is this $2 trillion plan buying? Well, it's a complete top-to-bottom rebuild of America's nuclear triad.
If you're not familiar, the triad is basically the three-legged stool of nuclear deterrence. You've got weapons you can launch from land, from the sea, and from the air. The whole idea is to make sure you can always strike back no matter what. And under this plan, every single leg of that stool is being replaced, all at the exact same time.
And the scale of this is just wow. For the Air Force, it means replacing the iconic B-2 and B-52 bombers with the new B-21 Raider. For the Navy, swapping out the entire fleet of Ohio-class submarines for new Columbia-class subs. And for the land-based leg, we're not just talking new missiles, we're talking new silos, new command centers, thousands of miles of brand new cable, the whole shebang.
So, this all raises a really big debate. Do we actually need all this? Proponents will tell you it's a crucial upgrade to keep the country safe. But critics, they argue this whole thing isn't just wasteful, it's actually making us less safe.
Let's just zoom in on one tiny component, the plutonium pits that actually trigger the nuclear explosion. The official argument is that the old ones are getting on in years and can't be trusted. But critics point to a ton of studies, like this one from back in 2007, that showed the existing pits are perfectly fine for at least another century, maybe even 150 years.
And yet, despite that, the US is firing our production to make 80 new plutonium pits a year. Now, for the people in favor of this, it's just smart planning, ensuring reliability for the future. For the critics, it's a perfect example of incredibly expensive overkill.
And critics say this is just part of a much bigger pattern. The entire program is apparently drowning in cost overruns. The new missile program's cost, it's jumped 81% just since 2020. And get this, the plutonium budget more than tripled in 6 years, partly because of a $500 million mistake on a roof that was, get this, built 13 feet too low. It seems like almost every single project is late and way over budget.
Okay, so the money is one thing, a huge thing. But the criticism goes way deeper than just the price tag. The argument from critics is that these new weapons aren't just expensive, they're actually making the world a more dangerous place.
So for instance, the official reason for keeping hundreds of vulnerable land-based missiles has shifted. It's now based on this pretty unsettling theory called the nuclear sponge. The idea is basically this. An enemy would have to use hundreds of their warheads just to destroy our missile silos, which would sponge up their attack and protect other things. But that sponge is the American heartland.
And to a lot of people, that strategy seems completely backwards when you think about the other options. I mean, stealth bombers and nuclear submarines are almost impossible to track down. They give you a much better chance of striking back without basically inviting an attack on your own soil. A missile silo, on the other hand, is just a sitting duck you can literally find on Google Earth.
And all of this leads to what might be the single most critical danger in this whole debate. It's not necessarily that the weapons themselves will cause a war, but that our adversaries' reaction to them could. See, you gotta remember, deterrence is all a game of perception. It's about what the other side thinks you're up to. And while this $2 trillion program was sold as a simple renovation, you can bet our adversaries don't see it that way.
To them, it looks like a massive escalation. It's a signal that America thinks nuclear weapons are here to stay.
And this creates what you could call a really dangerous paradox. We could be spending trillions on new weapons that don't actually make us any safer, while the reaction they cause in countries like Russia and China actively makes us less safe. It's the worst of both worlds.
And this isn't just a theory. We are already seeing the response play out. Russia has walked away from the New START treaty and is making nuclear threats. China, which for the longest time kept a pretty small arsenal, is now rapidly expanding it. Now, both of them claim they're just reacting to our actions. But the view from the US is the complete opposite, that this modernization is a necessary reaction to their aggression. So let's just connect the dots here. When every country involved believes they are simply restoring deterrence by building more and more advanced weapons because of what the other guy is doing, well, we have a name for that. It's called an arms race.
The reality is, the risk of a nuclear war is now higher than it's been at any point since the Cold War ended. And so this $2 trillion question, is it a necessary deterrent, or is it the fuel for a dangerous new arms race? It leaves all of us with one final, pretty sobering thought. What's to stop history from repeating itself?